What's up, guys? We're back with another episode of F123 My Team Career Mode. This is episode number 4 today for the Imola Grand Prix in season number 1. So we're going to start things out with a personnel event, and we get 600 resource points from that cybersecurity event last episode. That's a really nice R&D boost there. Now we can definitely afford some upgrades. Teach me to make fun of a personnel event. We'll start with a rear downforce upgrade. And then a minor ERS upgrade. Looks like those will come on in time for Spain. We can advance time. You may have noticed we updated the colors on the car and added the sponsor logos. And I don't think we can afford to do anything else. And we can't. So we're going to advance to the race. Or not. Apparently we have to pick a rival. There's not enough races left to see who's going to win the rivalry. We're going to pick Kevin Magnussen. Then we'll check the standings. Most important is the constructor standings. We've gotten ourselves solidly in the midfield now with 6 points. So we're in a battle with Aston Martin above us and AlphaTauri below us. See if we can hold on to P6 for the whole season. That'd be pretty good in this car. Alright, so let's advance into the race weekend. Alright, so the practice sessions are done. But before we head into the race, we have 1,200 resource points, give or take. We currently have a chassis, an aero, and a powertrain upgrade coming. We've dropped down to second slowest on the grid. Chassis is the only one where we can do 2 upgrades at the same time currently. This is a major weight reduction. Let's do that. That's a huge upgrade, good at all tracks. Alright, let's head into qualifying. And the rain is bucketing down at the Gran Premio del whatever, Imola. The rain is bucketing down at Imola. So based on the forecast, we waited until about halfway through to start.
I'd take a
Thanks, Mark. So we could go straight on intermediates instead of the full wets. All right, so we're gonna head out on the inters.
Okay, engines fired up. We're set.
We have time to maybe do 2 laps. It's another case of we're gonna do our best, but we're on a dry setup for the race. So we'll see what we can do. We lose a bit through there. This is the end of our first run. Fastest so far, but that's because we're the only ones that have done an intermediate lap. It's our last chance to get a lap in. Gotta improve. Into the first chicane. And we lost nearly a 10th going through Tamburello alone. Not a promising start. We gained a little bit of time through the Villeneuve chicane. A little over a 10th down through turn 7.
ETA on this rain clearing up is about 10 minutes, so just keep your concentration out there. You're doing well.
Much better through turn 9. Trying to feel out the grip here into one of the hardest complex of corners in the entire game, for me at least. As we run a little bit wide there. Even in the dry, I struggle to maximize those corners as we run into a ton of traffic into the slow speed chicane. And even more on the exit of the chicane. Not the ideal line through there, but with all that traffic, we still managed to gain some time. And now we're up slightly. A little bit more traffic heading into turn 17. And now we're clear as we exit Ravazza and head onto the main straight. Not a great lap, not a good lap. Really struggled with the traffic, really struggled with the grip. Just struggled to put one entire lap together. We had 2 good parts of lap. Yeah, and we're out 20th, unfortunately. And that means we're gonna be starting from the back. Looks like the race will be dry in its entirety though, so that's promising. Let's see what we can do. We should have better pace with this setup in the dry.
Well, today's venue has a full name that is perhaps lesser known than its informal one. So today we're at Imola, or to give it its official title, the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari. named after their legacy. A beautiful tribute at a beautiful circuit. One lap of Imola, anti-clockwise of course, unlike most Formula One circuits, will take our drivers round 3.1 miles of track. 19 turns, 9 right-handers and 10 to the left. Drivers will need to be precise at the hairpin at turn 7, given the subsequent uphill section. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Hamilton, Perez, Oscar Piastri, Fernando Alonso, Gasly, Russell, Ocon, Albon, Tsunoda, Magnussen, Bottas, Hulkenberg, Théo Pourchaire, Ricciardo, Stroll, the owner driver, Sargent, Joe, and Carlos Sainz will start from the back of the grid.
After the points finished last race, let's aim to keep that momentum going.
I think we're going to go aggressive here. Start on the softs and give ourselves the option of the 2-stop. Or switch it to hards halfway through our first stint and go for the big undercut. Try to make up some of these positions. Make up for the shoddy qualifying. Good job by our teammate Pourchaire. He's up in 16th. He out-qualified us for the first time this season.
Okay, how was that pull away? You'll have a bit more grip than that on the start, but we need to warm the tyres properly now.
Let's see what we can do. It's going to be a tough day though. We're going to have to be aggressive, especially off the start. Let's see if we can out-strategize the ability of our car. A 0.2 meters, that's pretty good. And the 5 red lights. The Italian Grand Prix is underway. We get a much better launch off the line than Stroll does. Tuck into Ricciardo's slipstream. Try the outside line instead, right behind the Alfa Romeo of Bottas. We try to go the long way around, side by side with Hulkenberg through the first corner, but we get the better exit on the softs. And we're through. We made a little bit of progress up to 15th now as we tuck in behind Bottas through Villeneuve. We're gonna fake to the outside. We're gonna dive up the inside. Try to go up the inside of Bottas through Tosa. Oh, he's still there, a little bit of contact. Still side by side heading into turn 9. Bottas loses the back end over the curb, and that allows Hulkenberg through as well. And Bottas is down 2 places. And we've got ourselves up 6 places all the way up to 14th. It's a better start than we could have dreamed of, even on the new softs. As we try to chase down Albon and Tsunoda through the slow speed chicane. We're gonna burn a little bit of battery. Need to make sure we stay in the DRS. We can't afford to fall too far behind here. We check in on the front of the field. Verstappen, Leclerc, Norris, and Hamilton are your top 4. And Albon was able to get past Tsunoda and up into P12. As we have a big slide of the rear end through turn 6. Tsunoda's all over the back of Albon through Tosa, trying to regain 12th position as we drift a little bit wide and Hulkenberg tucks in right behind us. As we watch Verstappen come through the final corners. Will the Ferrari be close enough to challenge for the lead when DRS is active? We're holding station.
DRS is being enabled this lap. We can use DRS when you're within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
It's essential that we stay within a second of Tsunoda, or we're going to drop like a stone to the back of the field. The top 6 are pulling away, with Gasly in 7th. The Aston Martin of Alonso's right up his gearbox. And there's quite a queue behind him as well. As we rejoin our POV through turn 7. We have managed to stay in Tsunoda's DRS so far, but we have Hulkenberg even closer behind us. As we get a nice third-person shot of our car going through Aqua Minerale, heading towards the slow speed chicane of the Variante Alta. Take a lot of curb. But we were able to stick well within the DRS of Tsunoda. We get a little bit of understeer through turn 17. As we check in on the lead of the race, Leclerc with DRS, side by side with Verstappen heading into the first chicane. Leclerc tries to go around the outside, and he's cleanly through, and we have a new race leader. As we find ourselves in a bit of a DRS train currently, we're gonna have to be a little bit more aggressive in the coming laps, as our tires will definitely start to fall off before the medium runners. Although Tsunoda's nearly dropped out of the DRS of Albon, and if he does that, it could really open up a window for us to move forward. If we take a look at our rival, who's currently up in P11, will Tsunoda be able to stay within a second of Albon? It's very close right now. Too close for me to tell at this point. As Tsunoda has a bit of a slide out of turn 18, as we check in on the Ferrari, who had an even worse qualifying day than we did. Attacking Bottas side by side into the first corner. Sainz is able to squeeze past and improve to 16th. Tsunoda has definitely dropped out of the DRS of Albon this lap, and it should give us a good opportunity as long as we can stay close going into the DRS zone. Within half a second coming out of Tosa now. We've actually had pretty good pace, better than our qualifying indicated, as the car becomes a bit unstable over the curb. Hulkenberg's gonna stick his nose in, but he smartly backs out of it. That is not a passing corner. Lap 5 onto 6, and Verstappen leading Leclerc through the Variante Alta. The top 6 have really run away here. All over Tsunoda now as we come to the end of lap 5. I think it's time to be aggressive. I don't know how long our softs are going to be able to hold on. Open up the DRS. We're going to tuck into Tsunoda's slipstream. We're going to dump the battery. Tsunoda goes defensive. Tsunoda gives us a squeeze. We're going to have to go to the outside. We're through, but there's yellow flags. So the yellow flags were right behind us. There's us getting past Tsunoda there, and this is the battle between Hulkenberg and Sainz. Sainz gets through, but Sainz gets spun round off into the gravel, and Sainz's tough weekend continues. Let's ride on board with Sainz and see if we can tell what happened. Sainz and Hulkenberg are side by side into the first corner. Sainz gets ahead, there's a little bit of contact, and it looks like Hulkenberg's front wing just clipped the back end of the Ferrari, and that's a really tough break for Sainz. And Tsunoda's gonna try to come back up the inside of Villeneuve, but we're able to make the move stick. Not a corner you'd normally try to dive in, but Tsunoda tried to catch us off guard. But we're able to hold on to 13th. We're making really good progress. We've done a good job maximizing the soft tires and putting ourselves in a position for points after a really dismal qualifying. But we have a long race left to go. We've got to keep Tsunoda behind us and see if we can find a way to catch up to Albon, which will be difficult because I think the mediums are the better tire now as we head on to lap 7. We're going to use a little bit of battery to try to stay ahead of Tsunoda.
Pit window and you're going to be on mediums.
Tsunoda's catching quickly with DRS. We're going to go defensive. Side by side into Tamburello. We get the better exit. We leave Tsunoda plenty of room, and we manage to hold on to 13th. As we check in on the leaders now, the top 6 have pulled even further away from the rest of the pack. Verstappen still in the lead with Leclerc in second, a strong contrast to his teammate Sainz down in P22. It's an interesting dichotomy for Ferrari at one of their home races, as we get a bit of understeer and run a little bit wide into turn 9. Starting to feel the tire wear on these softs. Going into lap 8, as we have a little bit of a slide there. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to break the DRS to Tsunoda, but let's push, let's see what we can do. We do gain a little bit of time on Tsunoda through the Variante Alta. Heading on to lap 8, and Leclerc's all over the back of Verstappen. The Ferrari tucks into the slipstream, opens up the DRS, and he's through to the thrill of the Tifosi. A Ferrari leads the Italian Grand Prix. So we're gonna switch to the hards instead of the mediums during our pit stop. Try to give ourselves some flexibility. That way we can stay out to the end of the race if we need to, and we can still come in for a fresh set of mediums if there's a safety car.
Okay, be careful. We think you're going to start losing some tyre grip anytime now.
Check in on our teammate. He's down in P20. having a bit of a dismal race. He hasn't made much progress forward, but he is ahead of the much faster Ferrari. We're starting to struggle on these tires now as we approach lap 9. Ooh, we have a bit of a snap oversteer as we exit Aqua Minerale, and lighting up the rears like that's really not going to help.
4.8 seconds.
And as Mark so graciously points out, we're continuously now just losing time to Albon ahead. We watch as Gasly and Alonso exit Ravata, heading on to lap 9. Gasly currently leading this second DRS train, the tail end of the points that have fallen way off the back of the top 6. Alonso looks like he wants to challenge his former team for P7. Gasly goes defensive, and Alonso goes around the outside, and Alonso's cleanly through before they reach the Tamburello chicane. Tsunoda's gonna try to stick his nose in, entering the Villeneuve chicane. Side by side through the quick left and right-handers, we managed to keep him behind, and he has to snap over the curb. That gives us a bit of a reprieve as we enter the left-hander of Kosa. But heading up the hill, Tsunoda pulls out of the slipstream, and it looks like he's gonna try to go up the inside. Side by side now, up the hill towards Piratella. But Tsunoda backs out of it, waiting for a better opportunity. Knowing he's on the better tires, knowing we're struggling, trying to keep our tires alive as long as we can. But this is a losing proposition. We can't afford to lose time fighting Tsunoda. So I think it's time to pull the trigger. We're gonna go really early onto the hards, and either hope we get a monster undercut and that the hards can last 22 laps, or that we get a late safety car, and we can go onto the mediums late. Gotta take the chance, gotta roll the dice. We just don't have the car yet to compete for points consistently on pace alone. All right, we need a good pit stop here. We hit our marks.
Okay, mate, that's it. Go, go, go.
Gasly looking to reclaim 7th place from Alonso here. But Russell's really close behind with DRS as well. Gasly goes to the inside and sort of sticks Russell behind Alonso, who didn't have DRS. And Gasly's cleanly back up in 7th and kind of used Alonso as a blocker there to get Russell off his back. The clever move. End of lap 10, and our teammates in a side-by-side battle with Stroll. Still side-by-side with the Aston Martin. And the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz comes in to join the action. 3 wide down the main straight. Pourchaire backs out of it as he's the only one without DRS, and Sainz slides through up into 19th with a wicked double overtake, showing that he does have the pace in that Ferrari and that he wants to put a show on for the Tifosi here in Italy. Checking in on our point of view on lap 11, we're just trying to put in good, consistent fast laps to maximize the undercut. When the other cars decide to pit, Joe attacking Bottas on lap 12. The Alfa Romeo teammates are side by side down the main straight. Joe, with the advantage of the DRS, goes up the inside, but they're still side by side entering Tamburello. It looks like they might have banged tires there, and Joe makes his way through up into 14th. We are making up significant time, as we're only 12 seconds back up Pourchaire now. With him having not made a stop yet, starting on the hard, the battling between the Alfa Romeos is actually helpful to us, as I calculate we'll probably slot in somewhere around 12th or 13th following everyone's stops. Oh, and Gasly locks up and goes deep into the first corner, nearly clattered into Russell rejoining the track, and that allowed Alonso to slip through, back up into 7th, with Russell, Ocon, Magnussen, and Albon either in the points or on the fringes of the points. And some of those teams, like the Haas and the Williams, are the teams we're closely battling in the constructors. Gasly, looking to make up for his mistake on the last lap, is all over the back of Alonso with DRS. Side by side into Tamburello. And Gasly's cleanly through, dropping Alonso back down to 8th, as these two are just trading DRS lap on lap. Lap 14 now, and we're less than 6 seconds behind our teammate who's still yet to make a pit stop, showing that we do have solid pace on these hard tires. and that we should manage a pretty good undercut, knowing of course that our tires are going to suffer at the end of the race. But this particular track is very narrow and only has one obvious overtaking place towards the end of lap 14, and the Red Bull back in front of this race. With Leclerc having a bit of a slide into turn 7, he's closer to falling into the clutches of Norris than he is attacking Verstappen. The Ferrari and the McLaren both have DRS, but Norris, having the better exit out of turn 8, pulls out of the Ferrari slipstream, and they're side by side heading towards Tamburello. The McLaren has the inside line, but Leclerc is able to hold it. Norris isn't ready to give up the attack yet, and they're still side by side. It looks like Norris has the advantage heading into Villeneuve, and the McLaren has snatched P2 away from Leclerc in an epic seesaw battle on lap 15. I'm getting a little bit nervous now as none of the cars ahead have made a pit stop. As we near the halfway point of the race, even the medium runners have still yet to pit. I'm hoping we weren't too ambitious with how long these hards will last, but I feel like we had to take a chance. As now the leaders are coming in, Verstappen, Norris, Leclerc, and Hamilton all peel off into the pits. Let's see where we filter in, as there's a whole gaggle of cars on the pit exit. Looks like we're up into 17th, as the first round of cars have made their stops. We tuck in behind Hulkenberg. So Perez leads Piastri, Alonso, and Russell of the cars that have yet to make their pit stops. We watch Alonso in third, coming through the Variante Alta. All the teams have left it very late into the race. None have tried for an undercut. We're the only team that have tried it, as we're on the back of our teammate now, already in DRS range, and he is still yet to make a stop. I imagine our teammate's going to be peeling off into the pits right here. Or perhaps not. Sainz is tucked into the pits as we tuck into Pourchaire's slipstream. I really hope he doesn't get in our way. We can't afford to lose time. We fake to the outside and dive to the inside of our teammate, and we are cleanly through, but that took more effort than it should have. They really need to put team orders in this game or the next game, as my teammate and I are in totally different races, and Russell's gonna try to get past Pourchaire into Villeneuve, but our teammate squeezes him over the curb, and our teammate's managing to hold up Russell and Gasly and keep them off our tail for the moment, buying us valuable time to try to build a gap to the much faster cars. How long can Pourchaire hold up Russell and Gasly on 17-lap-old hards? As we head down towards Aqua Minerale, we find ourselves up into the points, all the way up to 9th, as the undercut has worked wonders for us. And Russell has got to be fuming, as Pourchaire has already dropped 3 seconds off the back of us, and we make a mistake there through the Variante Alta, running wide. And Pourchaire is still in front of Russell, helping us build a 4.5-second gap to the Mercedes car. Our teammate's an absolute legend this race, and Alonso and the Aston Martin's coming in for a pit stop. So Alonso comes in, surrendering the lead back to Verstappen, who's pulled quite a gap as we see Leclerc now on the attack for P2. The Ferrari and the McLaren are side by side heading into Tamburello. Still side by side, and it looks like a little bit of contact mid-chicane there. And Leclerc manages to slip through. Perez is going to try to take advantage of this battling as we head towards the Villeneuve chicane, but Norris squeezes Perez over the inside curb, and the lead McLaren manages to hold on to third. And Russell's finally managed to get past Pourchaire.
Okay, you're in the top 10.
It's going to be very close between Alonso and I on the pit exit. Side by side now, and we managed to squeeze just past the Aston Martin. But Alonso on brand new mediums, it's going to be almost impossible to keep behind us. We're going to defend here as Alonso tries to go around the outside of Villeneuve. I tried to set up the switchback, but Alonso parked it right in the middle of the track. Defended it well. I always knew it was going to be real difficult to keep him behind us. And Alonso on those brand new mediums should be able to just run away from us here. As Alonso has managed to pull a bit of a gap through the Variante Alta, we've been pushing hard, trying to keep within the DRS as we very nearly lose the car of the big curves to the slow chicane. Heading on to lap 19, and Norris is trying to recapture second from the Ferrari. DRS is open and they're side by side. Not a huge fight put up by Leclerc, as without DRS he was a bit defenseless against the McLaren, as the podium shuffles up behind Verstappen, who seems to have pulled quite a gap in the lead. Although Leclerc doesn't look like he's ready to give up, he's gonna head to the inside heading into the Villeneuve chicane. Side by side they head into the quick left-hander, but Norris squeezes Leclerc over the curb, but that lets Perez slide through. But now Perez is pulled off to the side. What's happened to the Red Bull? Has he had some kind of mechanical failure, or has he picked up damage? There's none of the telltale smoke of the normal mechanical failure. He may have lost a gearbox, or part of the electrical system. Either way, Perez pulls that stricken Red Bull off the side of the track.
Yellow flag.
And we've got the yellow flag ahead for Perez. And we have a chance at a safety car, a virtual safety car here. That would really work to our advantage. Either way, another Honda-powered car
Okay,
fails to
clear.
finish a race. And it looks like Leclerc's fallen well off the back of Norris, so far back that he's nearly into the clutches of Piastri and the other McLaren. Will Leclerc fall all the way off the podium? I mean, it's Ferrari and we are in Italy, so probably. Away from that pain and onto our own. I'm not gonna fight this. I don't have the pace of that Mercedes on newer tires. We'll try to stick as close as we can to the Mercedes. We are still in 8th place, solidly in the points, and well above where this car should be. We'll burn a little bit of battery, open up the DRS. We're gonna tuck into Russell's slipstream. Russell chooses not to defend, so we're gonna dive up the inside of the Mercedes. Little bit of tire banging there in the middle of Tamburello. But we get the better exit, and we're back up into 7th. Russell didn't give us much room.
Great pass.
I don't think he thought we were gonna go for it there, and to be honest, I wasn't, until he didn't defend. And Russell's gonna try to come back around the outside of Tosa. And Russell's through. What a pass. Although it looks like he might have went off track to finish that move off. Let's take another look. It's very, very close. I'll let the viewer decide. Either way, that was an epic pass by Russell. Now we find ourselves under pressure from Gasly in the Alpine. Gasly backs out of it, but we're nose to tail through Piratella. Russell goes defensive into Aqua Minerale, and he runs wide and has a big slide. And has another slide climbing the hill. We're gonna use a little bit of battery to keep the pressure on Russell. Try to force him into another mistake. The battle for 7th, 8th, and 9th is really tight right now. We're gonna use a little bit more battery and try to stay close to Russell. Try to stay as close as we can through both Ravazza corners and then onto the main straight. Russell has a bit of a slide on the rear end, exiting Ravazza. Open up the DRS. Little under 5/10ths back, it's gonna be close. Russell does defend this time, and we're gonna go all the way around the outside. We go a little bit deep into the corner, but we manage to get past. And Gasly also squeezes through Russell. Just check in on the leaders, and Piastri and Hamilton have both managed to get past Leclerc. Leclerc's gone from fighting for 2nd place all the way down to 5th. I wonder if he has some kind of mechanical issue or what's going on with him. Not sure how long we're going to be able to manage to hold on to 7th, as the tires are starting to feel secondhand, and Gasly's on the attack now. The tires are at about 35%, and Gasly makes a late lunge into Aqua Minerale. He backs out of it, but he is all over us. Let's check in on Leclerc now, who seems to be really struggling. He's dropped off the back of Hamilton. I think he's all the way out of DRS range. He either has some kind of mechanical fault, or the DEG is higher than Ferrari counted on. Back to our point of view, we're gonna have to use battery here on lap 22. I know Gasly's gonna be able to get past the DRS, but I want to prevent being overtaken by Russell and Gasly. And Gasly slips past easily heading into Tamburello. We tuck in behind Gasly, and we are low on battery now. But we have managed to stay ahead. Although Russell's gonna try to attack us going into Villeneuve. Side by side through the quick left. Russell's ahead momentarily, but we managed to hold on to 8th. We're gonna have to be smart about this, as we're gonna have to try to stay in the points on really worn tires. And Russell gets a good run up the hill. And we're gonna go side by side through Piratella. We run a little bit wide, but we managed to stay ahead for the moment. And behind us, Albon is attacking Russell. The Williams has caught up to us. We have a snap oversteer there, trying to get back on the power. As we head through the Variante Alta, Russell is right on top of us. And this battling has not only allowed Albin back in, but it's allowed Gasly to get away, as we're clinging with our fingertips onto 8th. We need a good exit out of Ravazza. Russell is tucked into our slipstream. DRS open. Our battery light's flashing already. Russell pulls out to go around us, but gets squeezed back in behind. And we're gonna go side by side into Tamburello. We nearly lose the back end of the car there. We had a big slide. And we do manage to hold on to 8th. Russell looked like he wanted to try again into Villeneuve, but backs out of it this time. I don't think he wanted to risk going over the curb again. And from this view, you can see how close we are to Russell in 9th, Albin in 10th, and Magnussen in 11th. And Zhou in 12th isn't far behind either, as we get a beautiful view going through Paratella and going down the hill into Aqua Minerale. And all this battling with Russell has dropped us 4 seconds back from Gasly. We have a little bit of a snap on the exit of the Variante Alta, but we still get a better exit than Russell. Heading down into Ravazza and into the only DRS zone on the track. We actually get a pretty good exit here. We're gonna dump the rest of the battery we have. And Russell's 7/10ths back. And Russell's not able to attack us, but we run deep into Tamburello. And that allows Russell to close in. We're gonna go side by side through the quick left of the Villeneuve chicane. We come out ahead, but we have a big slide and nearly go off into the gravel on the exit of Villeneuve. And Albin was able to squeak by Russell there. And we have a lot of wheel spin on the exit of Tosa. And it's Albin in the Williams who's shadowing us now as we head into the Variante Alta. We have a little bit of a shake of the rear end on the exit. And Albin's not going to wait for the DRS zone. He's going to try to go past us here. And he's through, heading into Ravazza. But we're going to try to dive back up the inside. And we get back past as we enter onto the main straight, heading into lap 25. And Albin's gonna pull out of the slipstream and slip past us fairly easily with DRS now. That was part of the reason I felt like I had to fight him through Ravazza. And Russell's gonna try to go through on the outside as well. But we're able to defend it and hold on to P9. We gotta try not to let Albin get away here, but that Williams is really quick. Have to be aggressive, do everything we can to hold on to points. Points are so important when your car is barely midfield worthy. When you find yourself in the points, you have to do everything to keep them. Oh, and Lewis Hamilton's out. That's another free position for us. So what's happened to Hamilton? Check in on the Mercedes as he's up in 4th right now. He runs wide of the chicane, but I think the problem's already occurred. Yep, there's the smoke. He's lost an engine. And he pulls that stricken Mercedes to a stop in the grass. And will that trigger a safety car, or a virtual safety car? I don't believe so, as we're entering the Variante Alta now, and there's still only local yellows. I hadn't noticed, but Magnussen in the Haas has gotten past Russell in the Mercedes, as Mercedes stays going down the toilet quickly. There's a pretty high attrition rate in this race. That's Magnussen behind us now with DRS, and our rival is gaining quickly on us. We'll try to defend, but that Haas is fast in a straight line, and he's passed us before the entrance to Tamburello. We'll try to stay close and see if we can get back past him with DRS on the next lap. I wonder if Russell picked up damage in that contact with Albin, as Zhou has gotten past Russell now and up into the points. We have been able to stick with Magnussen. We're well within the DRS, and we've managed to keep Zhou outside of a second, at least this lap. We have to stick as close as we can to Magnussen until the DRS zone. We're gonna need a good exit out of Ravazza, but we're catching some understeer in the dirty air. A lot of dirty air, actually. Check in on what's going on behind us, as Sainz is attacking Tsunoda for P12. The second Ferrari's trying to get himself back into the points. He's gonna try the outside of Tsunoda, and he swings all the way around through Tamburello. Heck of a pass by the Ferrari, and it's a nice recovery drive from Sainz after his spin. As we try to keep up with Magnussen through the slow left of Tosa. As we climb the hill towards Piratella, the tires are nearing 55% wear. And I'm just hoping they can make it till the end, as I think we're going to be approaching puncture territory by the final lap. They actually don't feel as bad. Oh, big slide through Aqua Minerale. Okay, they didn't feel that bad until I just locked up and drifted through that corner. Lando Norris, in a race of his own in second place, has his own trouble at Aqua Minerale as he spun it. And Piastri nearly clatters into the side of him, ending both McLaren's races. That was very nearly a nightmare for the McLaren team. And Alonso's closing in on Norris now. It looks like Norris has been able to keep going, but wow, what a spin! That was a hell of a recovery to maintain third. Back to us, and it's essential that we maintain DRS to Magnussen. It's a very fast Joe. Oh, we have a big slide.
5 laps of fuel remaining, 5 laps of fuel left.
A very fast Alfa Romeo is threatening to take 8th place from us. We did manage to keep the DRS on Magnussen, but it looks like Joe's gonna try to take a run at us, and we're gonna have to go defensive. We do manage to stay ahead of Joe, but we have to manage keeping him behind and within a second of Magnussen. We're gonna check in on Alonso, who's trying to make Norris pay for that mistake by dropping him all the way off the podium. The McLaren's holding on to third, but Alonso's close behind. Getting very concerned with our tires as our rear right is approaching 60%, and our tire wear warning light has now come on. But we have to push through. We're going to attack Magnussen, open up the DRS. We're going to force Magnussen to go defensive. He's going to force us to the outside, side by side into Tamburello. And we slip through, up into 7th, as we try to squeeze the last of the life out of these hard tires.
Nice move, good job.
We're going to try to keep Magnussen behind us. Oh, but that snap really hurt us. Get a little bit of wheel spin on the exit of Tosa heading up the hill, trying to maximize our lap times and nurse these tires at the same time. Yeah, thanks, Mark. I'm not worried about the fuel, I'm worried about the tires. Much smoother through Aqua Minerale this time without the lockup and sliding. On to lap 30, and Alonso and the Aston Martins trying to chase down Norris for the final podium spot. Side by side into Tamburello. And Alonso's through. Also, I see Sainz has moved up into P10. That's an excellent recovery from the Ferrari driver. And the Alfa Romeo Joe has gotten past Magnussen and the Haas. So we're going to have to keep an eye on him, as he's the one chasing us for 7th now. As we get a good overview here of us in 7th, Joe in 8th, Magnussen, followed by Sainz in the Ferrari. The one Ferrari that has given the fans something to cheer about, as Leclerc somehow dropped down to 14th. Not sure what happened to him. Joe in the Alfa Romeo now, chasing us down towards Ravazza. He will have the DRS down the main straight, coming up to the penultimate lap, lap 31. We'll do our best to keep him behind us. We do have a little bit of battery to defend from the Alfa Romeo. We're gonna have to go defensive. Joe goes to the outside. We managed to make the corner and keep Joe behind us, but it was very close. And right behind our battle, Sainz goes around the outside of Magnussen. That looks very similar to the move where he and Hülkenberg came together and Sainz was spun off into the gravel. This time the Ferrari's able to make it stick, And he's up into
Gap
ninth.
to the car in front is 2.4 seconds.
And Joe's able to gain significantly on us on the exit of Tosa, as our rear tires are just cooked.
We've only got 2 laps of fuel left.
Heading onto the final lap, and Norris is just clinging onto the final podium spot, hoping that mistake he made in Aqua Minerale doesn't knock him all the way off the podium. Here comes Alonso with DRS. Side by side into Tamburello. And Alonso snatches the podium from Norris. And Norris has got to be ruining that spin that knocked him out of second place. Our rear right is looking really sketchy as we're trying to cling on to 7th on the final lap as Joe's dancing left and right looking for any way through. If there's anywhere I'm most worried about, it's the exit of Tosa going up the hill as our rear tires are gone and Joe gets a much better exit. He ducks to the inside. And Joe slips past going through Piratella. And Joe's move pushes us wide and nearly gives Sainz the opportunity to get through as well. We're gonna try to stay close to Joe. Joe has a little slide on the exit Aqua Minerale. One more time through the Variante Alta. Oh, and we have a bit of a slide there and lose some time. We're gonna have to burn some battery to stay ahead of Sainz. We're gonna try to park the bus in the middle of the track. Sainz is looking for any way through as we head down towards Ravazza for one last turn. Out onto the main straight, we're gonna get DRS on Joe. And we're gonna cross the finish line in 8th. And our tire's just on the edge of puncture territory.
All right, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
That was a hell of a recovery. I'm really happy with that result. We're able to grab some decent points out of P20.
What helped them deliver this result, do you think?
And Verstappen ran away with that win, with Piastri in second and Alonso up to third after Norris's spin dropped him down to 4th. Still a good job by Norris to stay in the race and score big points, mitigating the mistake as much as he could.
So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Today's performance means that Max Verstappen now owns top spot in the Drivers' Championship.
What a drive by Sainz, from 22nd up to 9th, and we went from 19th up to 8th. Really good job. As we see Verstappen leads Leclerc now by 5 points in the championship, and Perez rounds out the top 3, 10 points back of his teammate. And in the constructors, Red Bull is 15 points ahead in first. Alpine have pulled even with us with 10 points and pushed us down to 7th place. That was with Gasly's result today. We're gonna have to do our best to get back up into 6th, ahead of Alpine, although they do have a better car than we do. And that's all I have today from Imola. Until next time, later guys.